You're welcome. Yes, I'm going to take that again. Once again, if you're just joining us, you're welcome to Pade HCM's roundtable, where we're going to be talking about the much needed, often overlooked topic, who takes care of HR. My name is Ore Badmos. I'm a product marketer at Pade HCM, and I will be moderating this conversation today. Yes, so before we go on, we'd like to just warm up the room a little bit. Earlier on, I did say that I was citing some of our panelists in the house. There's Remy, Erefa, Tomilayo. You're all welcome. There'll be due introduction. So please come along. So yes, to warm up the room, we'll be playing a little game. And it's the classic put up your hands if you've done XYZ, or if something applies to you. So it's just like never have I ever, right? But this time around, we're going to be putting up our hands if the statement that I read out applies to you. So are we ready? If we're ready, can I have some thumbs up on the screen? You can use the reactions tab at the bottom of your screen. Thank you, Odafe. Thank you, Victory. Thank you, Erefa. Can I get more thumbs up? Thank you. Fabulous, fabulous. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to dive right into it. So raise your hand if you have ever experienced high levels of stress or burnout while working in HR. Are the hands going up? Are the hands going up? Okay, I see some hands. Absolutely, love it. Okay, more hands are up. I like that this is, very relatable, and it shows that, we're doing something right. Okay, so we can put down our hands now. I'm going to read out the second statement. All right, raise your hand if you have ever encountered situations in HR where you wished that you had more support on your mental health issues. Love it. I absolutely love the engagement and the honesty. Great, great. Okay, let me move on to the next one. Raise your hands if you believe that organizations should prioritize mental health support for HR professionals. Great. Great, great feedback, great feedback. And then the last one, let's see, what would it be? Raise your hand if you face unique challenges when it comes to their mental well-being. The hands are up. Okay. quite a number of people believe that HR face unique challenges when it comes to their mental well-being. All right, thank you all so very much for engaging in in our little game. Thank you so much. I really hope that this engagement continues throughout the course of the roundtable. So just a couple of house rules before we carry on. As we know, this is a roundtable, so we have pre-defined panelists who are going to be speaking on the set topic, right? I'm the moderator, Ore Badmos, as I said earlier, and I will be asking our panelists questions that relate to their fields. Erefa is going to be speaking a lot more on leadership. Remy and I will be speaking more from, the HR perspective, the day-to-day lived experiences. We also have our psychologists on the call with us, thanks to our partners, Mani. So this roundtable is brought to you by Pade HCM and Mental Health Awareness Nigeria Initiative. It's a partnership between both bodies, and we decided to just team up to do this very important event. Yes, so we have our psychologists with us who will be giving very much needed insights from their expert point of view. So yes, thank you so much for joining once again. My name is Ore Badmos, and yes, let's get into it. It's okay to put down your hands now. So yeah. If you have your hands up, it's okay to put them down. Thank you so much. Towards the end of the session, we will be breaking out into 3 rooms where our attendees will then be able to go more into talking about and asking questions about different topics. We're going to be talking about the effect of brain drain, that's the Jackma wave, on HR mental well-being. We're also going to be talking about the utilization of technology in, easing the workload on HR professionals. Then lastly, we'll be talking about what are the strategies that can be put in place to advocate for HR mental wellness in the workplace. So stick with us. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll be introducing our panelists now, starting off with Erefa Coker. Hi, Erefa. You can put on your video. Yes, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, hello, Erefa. Erefa Coker is the founder of HR Expo Africa. She is a seasoned HR and line management specialist with extensive consulting experience across private, public, and not-for-profit sectors. So as I said earlier, Erefa is going to be speaking from the HR leadership point of view. And I know that HRE Expo, which held a couple of months ago, talked a lot more about people, culture, and technology. And so she'll also be speaking a bit from that point of view. Thank you for joining us today, Erefa.
Thank you. Looking forward to learning and listening.
You're very much welcome. So next on my list is Ajibola Oyekunle. Hi, Ajibola. Are you here? You can put on your video.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All
but
right.
I can't see you. Okay, now I can see you.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. How's your day going?
So far, so good. And it's been an exciting session so far. So I guess it's only up from here. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the vote of confidence. Yes, so Ajibola Oyekunle is the Senior Regional HR Manager at Microsoft. He is a proficient human resources specialist with a keen interest in the realm of global economics and finance. Thank you once again for joining us today. We're really looking forward to hearing from your lived experience over the course of your professional years, and how we can learn from that, take away from that, for the betterment of the discourse. So thank you. Next, we have Remy Adegboye. Hi, Remy.
Hi.
Hi, Remy. It's lovely to see you.
Same. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Remy Adegboye is the Principal Manager HR for Tangerine. She is a versatile HR expert who is dedicated to delivering top-notch employee experiences and consistently pushing for excellence in this particular area. Thank you for joining us once again, Remy. We're excited to, just hear from your experiences over the years working in HR, also across different industries, I must say. So we're going to be diving into what HR mental stress looks like in different industries. Is a particular industry more prone to HR stress over others? So thank you. Moving on quickly, we have Oluwatomilayo Awodoyin. Hi, Tommy.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
Oluwatomilayo Awodoyin is a clinical psychologist for Mani and a certified member of the NACP with a passion for fostering a mental health friendly work environment. Thank you for joining us once again. We're really looking forward to hearing from your professional POV as to how HRs can take care of themselves, look out for themselves while they look out for other people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
You're very welcome. We also have from Mani, Ene Ayegba. She is a psychologist from Mani, and she is very passionate about advocating for mental health. She's also particularly interested in policy development and leadership within the field of global health. You're very welcome, Ene. Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Hi. It's lovely to see your face.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Yes, so before I begin to throw the question around, I'd like for us to just share a bit about what our day-to-day at our roles look like. So starting off with Erifa. Hi, Erifa.
Yes, day to day, I run an HR consulting firm across different continents and also HR Expo Africa. So pretty much leadership functions, work with the team, and speak to clients, understand, help with the processes and procedure, or set strategic HR perspective for clients, just help with whatever issues they're going through with, and then day-to-day strategic management within my own organization as opposed to day-to-day operational. So I try to be more strategic in terms of what we're doing, setting up strategic perspective, whether for our client or for our individual or for what we do in the organization as a whole.
Okay, all right. And would you say that in the course of developing strategic what would I say now? Developing strategy for companies, would you say that mental health, in particular HR mental health, has ever come up in any of the strategy conversations?
It's interesting because as HR people, we end up obviously focus on, this is mental health month, right? Mental health is very important. We've ended up talking about mental health, setting up the whole agenda for the organization. And we never really talk about the HR departments as a department. We just focus on general HR, the whole strategic goal for the organization in terms of their wellness, in terms of what do we do, whether it's financial wellness, whether it's mental wellness, or even physical wellness. But, just setting up the whole agenda, helping companies achieve this agenda for their wellness of the organization. It's never really department focused, or even just think, okay, what happens to the gatekeeper? What happens to people like HR? It's something that is overlooked 9 times out of 10.
Right.
We're not saying we particularly go and say, oh yeah, what about HR people? We just said the whole thing and then expect HR to drive it.
Right. Okay, great. I've noted a couple of things from what she said, and I'm super excited to dive into them. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Moving on quickly to Oyekunle. Hi, Ajibolo Oyekunle. Please, I'd like for you to put on your camera. Thank you so much. Yes. So can you just tell us a bit about, your day-to-day? I know that you're the senior regional HR manager at Microsoft, and, regional, it means that, you cover more grounds equals to more workload. So how does that look like for you?
Well, yes, I do cover more geographies, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's more workload. So yeah, my role as HR business partner is mostly talent management. That's the core. That's the core of what I do for Microsoft. But I'm also, because we also call what I could do local HR, even though I'm based in Nigeria and all the other countries, I'm not necessarily local to them. But what I do for them is I'm the expert when it comes to policy development. So when we are trying to roll out new initiatives, or on the flip side, if I think there's something that we need to roll out, I'm the one that works with the other teams, like the complement team, the HR services team, to develop and deploy those solutions. So yes, well-being does sit with me at some level in terms of understanding the program, but and that's probably part of when I saw this topic was interesting, because I had a knee-jerk reaction like, okay, why is HR different? But when I reflected a bit, I think there was a lot more. So I think we'll probably get to that later in the session. But my day-to-day, like you asked, is just to rehash that, is talent management, which is the usual stuff like succession planning, critical talent mapping, and career management, stuff like that. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
So I know you did say that a bit of mental health, drops on your table. So I was going to ask if, during any of, the career management, trajectory management, and how would I put it now? Policy developments, yes, has HR mental health come up?
HR mental health has not specifically come up, and it's probably because of the model of how we approach mental health in general at Microsoft. So Microsoft and all the organizations I've worked for, maybe because they're multinational, they've had employee assistance programs, which is essentially a subscription. It's like having an HMO, but for emotional and mental well-being. And HR people have as much access as everybody else. Right? So my perspective would not necessarily be from an HR person who's responsible for everybody's well-being, because I've seen cases where, HR people are even supposed to be psychologists, because they are also coaches for mostly senior leaders, but also everyone else. But even with that, I think when I saw your topic, I reflected and I realized that there are some blind spots that I had before that, having this topic made me realize that, okay, these are things that I had missed before.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm excited to jump into all of that. Remy, over to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So what comes with being a principal HR?
Okay, well, so for me, my day-to-day is essentially, kind of protecting the organization's culture, redefining it where necessary, cascading it across the organization. I'm also responsible for employee engagement. I like to think of myself as the chief enjoyment officer. Just making sure that everyone is having a good time, making sure that we're having targeted team bondings and things like that. I'm also responsible for learning and development. So everything around what kind of interventions employees need to close out specific technical or behavioral gaps that they have when it comes to, you know, how they're doing their work. Tracking performance management as well, conducting 360s, you know, things like that. So that's where my daily responsibilities fall into.
Okay, okay. I'm having quite a lot to take down. Performance management. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. I will be moving on quickly to our psychologists. Hi, Tomilayo.
Hi.
Hello. Yes. What does your day-to-day at Mani look like?
Okay, my day today as a clinical psychologist has me attending to people with mental health issues. The severity, of course, it varies. So, and most times we have these cases referred to our counselors who are trained in offering basic mental health services. So we assign these cases to those that would handle them. So we receive a lot of calls. So I'm first point of contact. So we receive a lot of calls daily for people who are having mental health distress, and then they are linked up with a counselor who reaches out to them and they go through the counseling. And in a case where the case may not be addressed adequately by counseling, we refer upwards to trained professional mental health service providers like a psychiatrist, a clinical psychologist. So that's the summary.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, Anna. Hi, Anna.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes.
So I don't think I'm going to be saying anything as interesting as the chief enjoyment officer. But
Remy, you have a reputation already.
I do a lot of different things. It depends on what day it is. For instance, I just got back from a center where they have asylum seekers. So go there, provide support. I do some research too about mental health, and it's just basically a lot of working with nonprofits, listening, providing mental health support, schooling as well. So it's just a whole, every day is a new thing, quite interesting.
Right, great. So to just sort of pull us back into, the discourse, I will be asking you that during your course of research, right, did anything pop up around, workplace mental health and HR mental health to be particular?
Yeah, I think while I was also preparing for this, I think the major thing that stood out is that even though HR managers are like concerned with learning and development, making sure that everyone else is doing okay, they are the ones who have like the high amounts of burnout, stress, and there's no health without mental health here. So if you are saying that the people who are in charge of making sure that everyone else is fine, they are not fine themselves, it means that, there's going to be like a trickle-down effect. So it's research points to burnout and stress being like a major thing that HR managers have to like cope with, amongst other, work stress and other things as well. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. So yes, let's just dive right into it. And addressing the elephants, or plural, in the room. First, is HR mental health a thing, right? And if it is a thing, who is responsible for taking care of HR? So now for that, I'm going to be asking Ene, are you still there? So is HR mental health a thing? And also I'm asking particularly because while every one of you introduced yourselves and spoke about your day-to-day, I asked the same question all through. Had HR mental health popped up in in any of your day-to-day activities? And the recurring answer was that not necessarily HR specifically, right? So if it has never come up, right, is it then a thing? Is there much ado about it?
I feel like this is like a tricky question, because HR managers are human beings. It's just like saying, is there a thing like doctors' mental health? Yes, there's a thing like HR's mental health, because, I'll just say, okay, it's like an occupational hazard kind of thing. They take care of people. So there is a possibility that, nobody's taking care of them. And, there's this gap between their own well-being and the fact that their duty is to make sure that the organization runs like a well-oiled, wheel. But then, is HR mental health a thing? I think we are making it a thing, because I don't think we'll be having this discussion if it wasn't like important. Yes, they experience stress, they experience burnout. So it means that there's, it's worth looking into to try to understand, okay, from their own perspective, what's going on. Recently, I think the IBA for lawyers, they tried to like come up with something, mental health for lawyers as well, because they know that, they need mental health awareness, they need mental health. So every sector is trying to like take care of the people who work there. So yeah, I think it's a thing. As much as we want to make it a thing, it's a thing.
Right. Beautiful. Remy, I'm going to be going to you now. You did say that you're the Chief Enjoyment Officer, right? One of the things that you mentioned that you do at Tangerine is that you're responsible for engagement, right? You're planning the enjoyment aspect of things. So my question to you would be, while you are making sure that everybody's having a good time, or they're going to have a good time, making sure that employees are engaged, there's nobody feeling left out, everybody's, on board and feeling appreciated. Who takes care of you? Who looks out for you? Who makes sure that you also enjoy while you're ensuring that every other person is having fun?
Okay, thanks for that. So I think that maybe I'm just fortunate to be in a team where, I'm surrounded by HR professionals who kind of have made it their personal responsibility to look like we're looking out for each other. Do you understand? So I kind of have built my own community. I also have friends from other companies that I've worked in within the HR space who I can really go back to and be like, man, I'm tired. I'm not having it today. I'm stressed, all of that, because there's this constant kind of expectation that Remy must be always in a good mood, always laughing, always getting everybody excited. I know. And some days Remy is not having it, So to answer the question, I think maybe there's nobody necessarily looking out for me or the rest of the team when it comes to how we're feeling or how we're doing. But I think what has been helpful is that within the team, we have sort of created a community for ourselves where we can rant to each other. We can, based on our personal relationships and interactions with each other, we can reach out to one another and just, kind of refresh and then come back again. So yeah.
Right. Beautiful. I really love that you delved in a bit into peer-to-peer support and community support. Also noting that peer-to-peer support is not necessarily left for just intra-organization. You also mentioned that you have friends in other organizations that you speak to. And I think that is a very important inclusion in today's discourse. So thank you so much for that. Hi, Ajibola.
Hello.
Yeah. I'll just like to get a bit of insight into what the challenges faced by HR professionals are. I mean, we've established that it doesn't really pop up as an entity on its own, right? But Ene has also said that it's as much a thing as we make it to be, which is why we're here. So what would we say those peculiar challenges are? What makes it a HR mental wellness thing?
Okay, good question. I think being the owner of those policies, one of the things that really strikes me is that many times HR people don't practice what they preach, right? So many of the tools that we deploy, sorry, the siren you hear is not emergency services, it's NEPA. And so many of the things we deploy, we don't practice them. Even when you think of like one of the core things I do, talent management, HR people try to make sure managers differentiate when it comes to rating people and all that. But in HR, you probably don't get as much differentiation because no one is watching or taking ownership of that HR piece. And when it comes to mental well-being, us not using the EAPs that we contract with also means that we might be missing out on some things. We know all the dimensions of well-being from physical, emotional, and all that, but not taking that. That's one thing. I think the second thing I would say affects HR people is that we are the face of many negative things that people associate the company with. And
you're
even
the
though
fall guy.
you're almost always the fall person, even though it's the leaders that make you that person. People just always think of HR as the bad people. And what it does is when we reflect on one of the dimensions of well-being, say like social well-being, in life, you make friends at specific stages of your life. When you're going through school, you have friends that are in your class. And when you're 30 plus, you're more likely to make friends in the workplace. But when you're in HR, it's difficult to be anyone's friend. For one, they always see you as a bad guy. I don't know if anyone here watches The Office, but there's a part of The Office where Michael Scott, the main guy, had said something like, Toby is their HR guy. So he said, Toby is in HR, which technically means he works for corporates. So he's not really part of our family. And he's also divorced. So he's not really part of his own family. It's funny.
Oh my
but
gosh.
For me as an HR person, I also reflected that actually a lot of people don't think of HR as part of the team. When you get into a room, people start whispering. It's like being a teenager and then your parents walk into the room. It means that it's difficult for you to also build connections at work. And that affects your well-being because one of the pillars of well-being is social well-being. And when it comes to burnout, there are many things that affect burnout. It's maybe one of your pillars is distorted or something. And when you're an HR person and you own what you call conflicting priorities, the company has a vision, but as an HR person, you'll be told to go and do something that doesn't align with the vision and you can't fight against it. So that conflict in your heart, it creates turbulence and you can't really handle it. Now, those are the things I think are unique to HR, the type of HR I practice, because I'm not the HR person. The way our HR is structured, we're not the people that if you're having an emotional issue, you come to. You might ask us what tools we have, and I'll just tell you, oh, call the EAP, but I'm not going to be that coach, which takes a lot of that load off me. But it means you're dropping one load for another. And these are some of the examples of load you might be dropping for other things.
Right. So would you say that the fact that you don't come in direct contact with the emotional distress of employees, would you say that that bit sort of makes it a bit easier on you?
Oh yes, it's quite liberating having to not having to handle people's issues and then interact with them every day after that. And for the people that do it, I really applaud them.
So Remy, what does that look like at your end? I know you did say, you do a bit more engagement and all of that, but I assume that you would still have some insight because I know that you've focused on different aspects of HR across the years. So what does that look like for you? Do you get to interact with, the emotional aspects of the employees, or you also, just pass it on?
So was that for me?
Yes, Remy.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So will I say thankfully in my current role, I don't necessarily have to interact with those aspects, because we also have the way that the team is structured. We have HR business partners who are responsible for certain departments, and they're pretty much like the frontline HR guys that employees would run to if they had issues. But I think that because of, I guess, my personal reputation across the organization, or because employees have seen me in certain events or certain functions that we're having, sometimes I do get random, I get employees randomly reaching out to me with some heavy issues that they have, or wanting direction, or, with regards to their career, how can they grow, or, family issues, things like that. So once in a while, I come in contact with issues like that. Mm-hmm. And I guess that what has helped me and what I've learned over time is to not internalize, because I think earlier on in my career, when I was a HR VP having to relate with this on a more day-to-day basis, I would internalize. Sometimes I would cry. Sometimes I would be like really, really sad with them, and I would go home and the issues would still be on my mind, and I would be talking about it to my family, and it just becomes like a personal problem or a personal burden, right? So I guess it's important not to internalize. Also important to sort of redirect them to the help that they need. So one has to listen very closely to what the issues are and where the issues are coming from, and then redirect. If they need to speak to a mental health specialist, then you redirect them to that person. If they need to speak to a career coach, whatever it is that they need, just remembering that you're not able to, I guess, pour out of an empty cup, and you have to keep your, absolutely, yes, exactly. You have to keep your own well-being top of mind as well. So yeah.
Okay, all right, interesting. So I like that from your account and Ajibola's account, it goes to show that organizations are getting more intentional about the processes of accessing mental care at the workplace. So that's a bit of positive development that is very, very much welcome. So Erifa, I will be asking you now. A couple of months ago, the HR Expo Africa held, and the theme was people, culture, and technology. Right. So my question is, what role would you say leadership plays in ensuring that technology is utilized? But first, would you say that tech actually helps manage HR mental well-being?
Okay, I want to start with a bit of statistics, because I did a bit of research just before. Obviously, as I said, HR, and as everyone has said, particularly HR mental well-being is something that's we don't really talk about, it doesn't pop up. So the SHRM had done a study, and 70% of HR professionals report feeling stressed at work, and 40% report feeling stressed out. And the University of Warwick has also found that 75% of people in HR have more work stress related whatever than other professionals. And the Mental Health Foundation also says 45% report burning out. So if you look at the statistics, obviously it is a thing, because some people have decided to do the study within the HR professional, and it's something that it's a thing. And why is it a thing? Because if you want to, as Ajibola said, HR people are not the bad people. It comes from the leadership. So if you want to fire somebody, the MD is not going to call somebody to fire. So this is somebody that you smiled with. Some people sack on the spot, and literally shutting in the bank, you just get an email, or you just go and see HR. So you just said, a friend of mine said to me that he'd come into the office, and in their organizations, one of the big telco service organization, and he'd come into the office and he was having coffee with his colleague, and he came back and he said the office was feeling tense. He didn't know, so somebody whispered to him that, oh, that guy's going to see HR and he's not coming back. And literally he got fired. So can you imagine? He said he ran upstairs. He couldn't even stay downstairs for the guy, when the guy was coming back to pack his desk. He couldn't be on the seat because the guy just literally been fired. So the HR person is the bad guy, but is the fall guy, not necessarily the bad guy, because leadership creates this thing. So Now, does technology help? There's a lot of, I'm a tech enthusiast, right? I love technology, and there are a lot of tools that help with mental well-being. There are things that tell you to take a pause. Even for social media well-being, there are tools you can use. I use this tool on my phone. It locks me up from 10 o'clock until 4 p.m. I can't get on any Instagram, but guess what? I have another phone that doesn't have it. So I still go on social, but my main phone, the one that is my go-to, I'm locked out. But if I feel like, okay, I'm not doing anything, I go to my spare phone, which still has Instagram, and I browse. But pretty much there are different technology tools that help. And that's why technology is just a great thing. It enhances what we do. If we use it appropriately, it helps what we do. There are things that takes the pulse of the mental health of the whole organization, little mini surveys, engagement surveys, just to see how everyone is feeling. And so, but as Ajibola has said, a lot of people have said on this call, do HR people actually use that for themselves?
Yeah.
So we set up all this technology tool, we get, and then sometimes a bit of too much technology. We have so many tools that we can use. And then, but the HR people make it mandatory for the department to say, okay, we're going to test ourselves on these things. We're going to look at the pulse of the HR department, let's say our own mental well-being. Let me make sure that people within the HR department are going to see in Microsoft, you said they have what's it called now? Can't remember. Make sure that people within the department are using that products that we have created and stuff like that. It is not, that's okay, so it's there, but do we use it?
Right.
Make ourselves use it. So this comes from leadership. HR is not going to, so it's for leadership to set the pace, to understand that everybody, including myself, it's leadership by example. Exactly. So if we have a product, and if I see that even my MD is feeling stressed out and is going to speak to somebody about this, so I won't feel stigmatized. I won't feel, sometimes a bit of stigma. How can me, a old director of HR, go and talk to somebody about my mental well-being and stuff like that? So it's leadership sets the tone and how things should go. People will then feel vulnerable. We have to feel vulnerable, but we don't want to be vulnerable because we are the watchman, we're the gatekeeper, we're the ones who make all these decisions. We don't be able to do things like that.
Okay. So at this point, I'm going to ask someone to come up to speak about it. I'm making an exemption for this person. Abraham. Hi, Abraham. Are you there? Abraham is going to be talking about HR tech. He's going to just comment a bit on what RFA has said so far. Hi, Abraham. How are you today?
Hi, very fine, thank
you. So Abraham is my colleague at Pade HCM. So Abraham, tell us, what do you think tech brings to the table? Is tech an enemy?
I would say tech is pro mental health. Using myself as an example, I remember, because I had sales here at Pade, as you know, and there was a time where I got some very bad news. And I knew that I didn't want to bring that energy into work on Monday, because I know I lead the team, and I wouldn't want them to sort of bear the grief of what I felt. So what I did was, because of how Pade is wired to work, Pade software, it was a Saturday morning, and I just went on Pade and requested for a leave. And in 3 minutes or less, I got an approval for my leave to commence on Monday. Because
Sorry. You said you went on Pade to request for a leave.
Leave, yes.
Okay.
So, and because it's automated, it got approved like 3 minutes after.
Right.
And I come back to the office on Friday. And I speak to my CEO, and I'm like, oh, you were so quick to approve my leave. Why? He said, no, just said it because he got notified on his phone. And he just said, oh, since he saw it and saw the reason why I was going on leave, and the person that was meant to relieve me was notified as well, he just approved it. It was easy. So I'll say tech is pro mental health, because sometimes we could also be very overwhelmed by the things we go through personally and work as well. And you would want a session by, because if not for Pade, I would have had to wait till Monday,
Right.
or had to send an email to my HR that might not be available because it's a weekend. I would have had to wait till Monday, come in, speak to HR, or maybe even, what if my mental health could not take me till? What if I was coming to work in the morning and I was lost in thought and had an accident? I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
So I had to just, on my own, reach out and see how, okay, I could branch out. And yeah, Pade made it easy for me. So yeah, I'll say tech, HR tech, Pade is pro mental health. Yes.
Pro mental health. Okay. Thank you so much, Abraham. Something you said about you would have had to wait till Monday if you did not use Pade's technology to request for your leave when you really needed it, right? And an offshoot question from that, but this will be to Tomilayo, is that because of that chain of requests, so I'm just going to explain. So Abraham is at home, he's feeling a certain way, but in this context, let's swap Abraham out for a HR professional. They're at home, they're feeling a certain way. If they needed to put in a request manually, they would have had to wait till Monday. So they decided to, use the tech tool at their disposal, which is Pade, to request for a leave, right? And this meant that the person who was going to approve got the notification and all of that. So Tomilayo, would you say that for the fact that there is limited and reduced human-to-human interaction via that process, would you say that goes a lot into taking away the stigma aspect of things? Do you think that would encourage more HR professionals to come forward to say, hey, I need some time off to take care of myself?
Well, yes, I think it's actually a fantastic thing, because it's one thing for you to think about how you want to explain to the person why you need leave, but it makes it a lot easier when I don't have to explain myself, or I don't have to even face you before I get my leave approved to take care of myself. So I think it's really nice, and I don't think it affects anything. I mean, the issue is already there. That interaction at that point may not be the solution. It may even make it a little more distressing for you to want to come out and seek for the help. I remember one Arafa said earlier that, oh, how would I, as the person or the person up there, say, oh, I have a mental health issue or I need a break for that. So that way you don't even need to explain yourself or explain anything or feel somehow. So I think
okay. All right. And Arafa, back to you. Would you say that in your experience with HR leadership, would you say that you've had any HR professional, walk up to you to share a bit of what they're struggling with mentally, or perhaps, they've come to ask for time off, but you can tell that there is more to what they're asking for, more to what they're saying? Would you say that they are forthcoming, with opening up?
My team is small, so we've all, whatever it is, somebody tells me they're closer to, there's a particular person in my organization where they're more close to, but if sometimes I'm the last to know. So if they tell me something's going on, I do my best to reach out. And if I talk to you, you probably will share, because I can talk. If you're telling me something, if it's something that's happened to me, I can relate. But if it's not something, I just listen. So I'm not a professional, but I tend to listen, and I'm always big on telling people to get professional help and speak to even my partner or my, typical Nigerian man. I say to him, go talk to, I don't want to talk to anybody, I don't want to talk to anybody. But I've had people who are not necessarily working with me, professionals, senior professionals come up, and I'm just like, just seek help. If you need to talk to anybody, talk to somebody. I try my best, but I'm not a professional. But I'm always quick to point people to the right, go to the space and do. And taking time off work is always, obviously, you're not productive if your mind isn't there. You're not productive if you are stressed, if you're burnout. There's no productivity that person is going to bring to the table. So forcing them to be in the workplace is nothing. Take as much time as you need to be off and come back better. I'm a firm believer in that.
Right. Okay. So Remy and Ajibol, I'm going to put it to both of you. do you know, I mean, Remy, you mentioned a bit of peer-to-peer, you guys look out for each other, and I'm sure that comes with, them saying, hey, I'm struggling with this, maybe not entirely every bit of what they're struggling with, but at least they come up to say, I need help. Would you say that there has been any instance where your colleagues, either in the same organization or another organization, have gone up to leadership to say, I need help in one way or the other? Would you say that you've heard of such incidences? Remy, you can go first.
But yeah, absolutely. Even from personal experience, I've worked in organizations where I've been lucky enough to be able to walk up to the CEO or anybody in senior management team to just be like, can I have a few minutes of your time? I just want to talk to you about this thing. And I'm talking to you, when you pick people that you speak to about certain issues, there's usually a basis for who you've selected. So if you're having maybe marital issues, for example, and there's somebody in the office who seems to have that, like they have it all figured out. Sometimes everything is not what it seems, but when you have that perception of a person, and then the culture in the organization is one where you can walk up to whoever and have a conversation with whoever. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. But I think that, and just to go back to what Erifa said earlier as well, if leadership doesn't kind of role model that, that space exists, or that there's a safe space for those kind of conversations, then it can't happen, and sometimes if somebody gives it a shot, and in fact, that person must be absolutely courageous to give it a shot when they're not even sure, right? But somebody gives it a shot and then there's some backlash from that, then what you've essentially communicated to the rest of the organization is, look, we say that it exists, but it doesn't really exist, But again, I think it's HR's responsibility to kind of let employees know that avenue exists, right? Within our team as well, like within the HR team as well, being able to maybe be the one to take that first step to find out if the leadership team is open to things like that. And then maybe create avenues where you can put some of these leadership people on the spot in some instances. And then I give an example. On Women's Day this year, we had a virtual session for all the women in the organization, and we had a lot of our, well, at least 2 or 3 of our female executive directors on the call. And it was really refreshing to hear a number of employees recount their experiences with these particular directors on the call, and say, oh, I've had a conversation with this person. She's been really helpful. She takes out time to give me coaching. She does this, she does that. That just sort of communicated to the other people on the call that, okay, that opportunity exists, that she give it a shot. So yeah, so I think the kind of culture in the organization kind of sets precedence for if, that kind of thing is doable or not. Unfortunately, for a number of people, it's not in the organization. But I think, again, it's back to us HR professionals to try and make sure we create that sort of environment as well.
Environment, yes. Be intentional about creating the change that we want for ourselves, right? Yeah. Beautiful. Hi, Ajibola. So would you say that you've, heard of any instances where anyone walked up to leadership to say, any HR professional walked up to leadership to say, I need help?
I can answer the question straight, but I would start by first reflecting on how that happened, because it takes a level of, in some cases, if the executive is the person's personal coach or they have a personal relationship, I would understand why they would go. But I think otherwise, if it's an organization that has built a culture of psychological safety, then that person should ideally be able to speak with their manager or any other friends in the organization, and not necessarily need to take it all the way up to the CEO. So I think taking it to the CEO, I would want to diagnose first, like, why the person feel the need to take it all the way up. If there are tools available, I mean, if I need a mental health intervention, what I probably need from the office is time off, and I just need that understanding. I don't even need to tell my manager what exactly I'm taking the time off for. It could either be sick leave or annual leave. So if that level of psychological safety is present for you to be able to get what you want from the organization when you need it, then I don't see why that person would go to the CEO. But to answer your question directly, yes, I've seen cases where people did go, and it was specifically because they didn't feel they could have those conversations with their manager. Maybe there was already tension with them. So it's always good to diagnose first, what's the root cause of this? Like, why is it going there? Yeah.
Right. Something very important I picked out from what you said, you mentioned psychological safety, that if there is the presence of psychological safety, then HR professionals will feel a lot more confident to, approach leadership. And by leadership, I don't just mean, the CEO. I also mean like team leads and the likes. So it's also very important to note that you have to, and also just tying this back to what Remy said about being intentional in creating the environment, which is what you said, a psychologically safe environment. So thank you so much, Ajibola, on that. So now we're just going to dive into what the causes of, or what would not make a HR professionals use the help at their disposal, the tools, the technology at their disposal, or even when there is a forthcoming chain of help. What are those factors that might contribute in making them take a step back, having cold feet to make use of the resources at their disposal?
Okay, so I think some of the things that might prevent a HR manager from actually reaching out for help might be that, they don't see themselves as part of maybe the population that actually deserves this help. So they are creating help for people who work in the organization. And somehow I've seen where like a friend of mine who's also HR manager is like, oh, it's for the employees. I'm like, you're also an employee. Like, it's for the employees. Like, there's this feeling of, I think, otherness. Okay, it's not right. For us. It's maybe for them. They know maybe somewhere in their minds that, oh, this thing exists, but it's more like, okay, it's for the employees, it's for the members of staff, blah, blah, blah. So that might be like one thing that also, and then there's this idea, maybe they don't want to look weak, or, right. I'm supposed to be the one who is in charge or who is helping. And there's this, oh, okay, I need to put on a strong look or a strong face or a strong aura, something like that. And they prepare to like debrief to their colleagues, which is not a bad thing. But the thing about burnout and stress is that it kind of accumulates. So sometimes it looks like you're doing okay, but if you don't actively take steps to like decompress and, get your mind clear of the things that you've probably internalized and the stress, you might just think you're okay, but one day you just see that, oh, it's a lot. And also, like other people mentioned, there might be, leadership wants HR to achieve a certain target. Oh, we want this, we want that, we want the chief enjoyment officer to attain this by the end of Q2. So like, it's like trying to balance, their requirements, what they're required to do with, trying to make sure that everything is going on well. And sometimes there's just not that space to actually reach out for help, especially when they feel like there's a lot of pressure. So it's not just one thing, it's like a cocktail of different reasons why. And again, I'd like to point out that it's individualistic as well. One person's reason for not reaching out for help might be totally different from like the next person's reason. So it all boils down to what's the culture in this organization like. Is it one that allows everyone from top to bottom to like open up about how they're feeling? How is the person like? Do they have support at home that helps them? Maybe they don't need to actually like use any EAP that's been provided. So it's a lot actually, and it just depends on who the person is, basically sometimes.
Okay, so thank you so very much, Ene. Over to you, Tomilayo. Point blank, what can HR do to look out for themselves from your professional POV?
Okay.
So we've heard so far that, there are some resources at their disposal, but some people still feel a bit laid back to making use of this help that is at their disposal. In some cases, there isn't enough awareness about, how they can access these resources or this help. In some cases, there is no help whatsoever. So as a clinical psychologist, what would be your recommendations for how HR can look after themselves?
Okay, so I will take off with what one of the speakers said earlier, that the HR personnel don't practice what they teach. So, and also, Ene mentioned earlier that there are things that are in place for the staff, for the members of staff, for the human resource in the system, but the human resource manager feel, oh, I shouldn't be a part of it. So the first step is you first embracing the fact that you're first human before you're human resource manager. And your mental health is part of your health. So this is the general thing anyway. People feel like when you talk about mental health, because you can't see it, then people cannot make sense of it. So we have to get to a point where we normalize this part of us. And it's not a sign of weakness. You can be the strongest person in the system, but yes, you're human. So you have to embrace that part of you and accept the help that is available. So whatever strategies that have been put in place for everybody. So the HR professional or manager should also make good use of it. On the other hand, yeah, the HR person is the midpoint between the staff and the management. And probably most things will have to, some of these issues, personal issues that the staff goes through the HR for. So we have to learn to draw the line. I mean, if someone is requesting for a time off work for health reasons, yeah, when it comes to mental, you may not be able to see the symptoms physically, but there should be policies in place that if someone comes and asks for a leave or a break because of anything mental health, you shouldn't be needed to probe further or go deep down. So you don't have to stress yourself with the details. It's a different case if this person is your person and you're just showing compassion. But it shouldn't be a burden on you to make it make sense to the management why this person has to go on leave to take care of their mental health just because you can't see the symptoms. So you don't stress yourself with that kind of detail. Okay, you're feeling some kind of way and you need to take time off because it's relating to your mental health. So there should be policies in place. Oh, okay, you're entitled to so number of days off to take care of your mental health. That is it. So also the need to be the savior of everybody is almost impossible because even as clinical psychologists that we tell ourselves, you cannot save everybody. You can only do your best to make sure you reach as many people as possible. That's making the world a better place, one person at a time. So you cannot save everybody. And you are not a mental health professional. You are an HR professional. So it's not in your place to help people when it comes to their mental health issues. Yeah, you can be a support system that is creating a mental health friendly working environment, but it is not in your place to help them to walk through or to walk the journey for them. You can walk the journey through them. You can walk with them through the journey, but you can't walk the journey for them. So you don't have to carry the burden of every staff when it comes to their mental health. Or you think, oh, I should be able to help this person. Or because I'm married, I should be able to help a colleague that is having issues with a marriage. Or because I have had similar experience and I should be able to help with this person. So let's normalize referring to the appropriate quarters. Oh yeah, I'm listening to you. I understand where you're coming from, and I think this is the kind of help that you need, and I'm going to allow you the time to do what you need to do. Also, for ourselves, it's just like a medical doctor saying they want to treat themselves. There will always be things that you can't help yourself with. As much as you help other people that are in distress, people that report you that are in distress. When it comes to your turn, you might not be able to actually help yourself. So also,
you should normalize taking the time off that you need also to talk to a professional and not try to say, okay, I can do this by myself.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Tomilayo. A couple of things I picked out was, very importantly, you cannot save everybody. You are not a mental health professional. So you need to know where to draw the line, right? As much as that might be a bit tough, we say something, we say self-love, right? You have to look out for yourself. If you are not well, like Remy said earlier, point from an empty cup. If you are not okay, how do you ensure other people are okay? Even if you're able to do that, there will be a breaking point. And at that point, it might be too late, and things might have escalated. So it's important to note that you cannot save everybody. And right off that, Remy, I'll be coming back to you. Would you say that, you've seen a lot more instances where organizations add the provision of access to mental care in their compensation packages? Is that on the rise, or, it's something that is still being overlooked? And how far you think this goes in instilling confidence in HR professionals and employees?
So I have seen, I've worked in companies where, EAP programs are available, and the company essentially pays for employees to speak with a mental health professional if they need one. But just thinking back, and I may be wrong, I don't have the data for this, but it seems like it's probably more common across maybe tech companies, tech startups, tech companies. I know that Ajibola mentioned that Microsoft, for example, has something like that. The companies that I'm referring to where I work that had things like that were also tech companies. But I don't think that, generally speaking, for other organizations that are maybe, across other industries, I don't think that is necessarily a common thing just yet. I know that some HR professionals have started to see the relevance and started to make justifications and cases for things like this, but I can't speak to if they're getting the approvals. But yes, so I know that for HR professionals, it's become increasingly important that we make these justifications for things like this to happen. At Tangerine, for example, I know that we try to take advantage of special notable dates like, Mental Health Month, or, things like that, where you can say, okay, we're not doing it all the time, but at this period, let's make it available, that kind of thing. So just kind of introducing it gradually, into the system, and then hoping that, management can begin to see the relevance of these initiatives, and then be a bit more open to it going forward. So yeah, I know that HR professionals are doing a lot more in terms of pushing for it. I'm not sure that we're making as much traction as we would like, but yeah, we can only keep trying.
So are there like bodies dedicated to something like this?
How do you mean? HR bodies or?
Yes, HR bodies, either regulatory bodies or like organizations who, champion this aspect. Are there such for people who are interested in maybe contacting them or joining?
So I mean, HR bodies would probably be our local CIPM and, and co, but frankly, I'm not sure that, and I feel like this is the whole conversation on its own that I don't want to segue into, but I think that the bodies responsible for HR in Nigeria can be doing a better job, frankly speaking. Just in terms of, education, creating awareness for HR professionals. They're trying. It's not that they're not doing anything at all, but just making sure that we're having conversations that are actually relevant to the things that people are going to as of today, right? Not outdated content and things like that. But I think what I've noticed is that even Nigerian HR professionals are seeking, at least trying to learn more about best practices and standard practices from HR organizations outside of Nigeria. So I'm sure that we have, sorry, I think I broke off for a second there. So I'm sure that we have quite a number of HR people on this call who are maybe part of the HRCI or SHRM bodies or CIPD bodies, things like that, where they tend to provide resources for helping HR professionals kind of make a case to management, proposal templates, things like that, that you can sort of get yourself, I guess, prepare yourself with, when you're going to make those kind of justifications to management. I came across this Google Drive as well. So again, there are HR groups on WhatsApp that share very, very valuable information. If you're ever struggling with how to make a case for just mental health at the workplace to your management staff, I came across a Google Drive link the other day that just had, it seemed like witchcraft, because it just had like all the templates and all the, it was, I mean, I don't know. So sometimes don't, as a HR professional, don't be too all in yourself and remove yourself from what's going on. The power of community cannot be underestimated. Get yourself into these groups, speak to people, connect to people on LinkedIn, join conversations like this, ask for help where you need help, and yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Remy. Please can you mute? Okay, done. Yes, thank you so much for that, Remy. We're going to be going into our breakout sessions, which will last for 15 minutes. But before then, I would like to ask Ajibola a particular question, very peculiar, about the effects of brain drain. That's the Jackpot wave on HR. I know that leads to a lot of, attrition, right? And that can be quite something for HR professionals to constantly, hire and be on the lookout for new talents and, even easing out the ones that are leaving. So what would you say the effects of the Jackpot wave is on HR mentals and workload?
Okay. Before I get into that, I just wanted to clarify. Employer assistance programs are not just common in tech. I've worked for 3 different companies in 3 different industries, and they've all had EAPs. So I think it's more a commonality with multinationals, companies that are not headquartered in Nigeria, because their cultures are used to these things. But over time, as things progressed, there was also more utilization of that benefit from employees. So, back in 2010, maybe very few people were using EAPs. But now, even if you don't have it, people will go and pay out of pocket, because the pandemic really made people realize that, mental and emotional well-being are indeed as fragile as the books say they are.
Yeah.
And to get into the actual question you just asked me, sorry, please, can you repeat it? Because I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, so I was saying what the effects of the Jackpot wave, the brain drain, is on HR professionals. Okay.
So first, at a general level, at a macro level, I think the brain drain is a good thing for the country, because when I got into my career, there were so many graduate trainee programs and so many opportunities to grow straight out of school. But because of low employment levels, companies just stopped investing in those programs. And you can pretty much hire people with 10 years experience on entry-level salaries in entry-level jobs, just because there aren't enough jobs. So I think the Jackpot wave is good for the industry. It means companies will get to the realization that they need to start building again. They need to create opportunities for people to learn. And what it also does is, when you think of talent management, having talent that you can relate with outside Nigeria when you work in multinationals, it's a big deal. It means you have good sponsorship. It means you have people who have context of your working conditions, and it means you have good advocacy. And of course, I'm sure MFLA will be happy for the diaspora remittances that come from abroad. But what does it do? Obviously, it means you have to hire a lot more. Some companies were more hit than others. I think I've seen some companies that were not significantly hit either. So for recruiters, yeah, my heart goes to the recruiters that had to cycle through, 4 people in one job in the same year, especially when you think of banks. So in terms of well-being, it has the volume of work, obviously, but not just for HR, even for managers who have to consistently onboard new people. And I think the chunk of work also happens there. For HR, you can probably start thinking of pipelining people and preparing for, when you do an interview, you have 5 potential candidates. So if your first one resigns, then you just call the next one. Yeah. So you're just pretty much activating your sleeper cells in a sense. But for the manager, they need to actually onboard those people. So it's a lot of pressure for organizations, but it is also another wake-up call for organizations it's no longer the slave driving days of the past. It means at some point, organizations actually need to start reflecting on what else can I do to keep my people? It's not just the country, it's also the employment practices. Can you pay better? Can you provide EAP, better medical services? There's several things that employers can do to retain people when you know that that there's actually something at stake. So I think it's a good wake-up call. Yes, we'll be pressured for the short term, but on the long term, it's good for us in general.
Okay, thank you very much, Ajibola, on that. You did mention a couple of things about, the courses, why that's happening, and what's the organizations and HR professionals themselves. Okay, so I would love, in as much as I would love to really, really go into all of that, and I can say that this is a topic that has so many parts that, I would love to delve more into. However, time is not on our side, so we're just looking out we're going to be breaking out into 3 separate rooms to go a bit more into different topics. So we're going to have a room talking about, hi Mimi, please can you mute? I keep muting you from here, but it keeps getting unmuted. So okay. All right. Okay. All right. So the first room, we'll be talking about the effects of brain drain on HR workload and mental wellness. This is something that Ajibola just spoke about, and we will be delving a lot more into that in that room. Our psychologist, Ene Ayegwa, will be moderating that conversation. It's a lot more discussion based, right? So this is where you get to ask all your questions, make all your contributions within, a very controlled space so that everybody's heard. The second room, we have utilizing technology to enhance HR processes and mental wellness. And this would be moderated by Abraham Olutayo. That's my colleague that I brought up earlier to talk about how he was able to use tech to, sort out a mental issue he had. So Abraham will be moderating that conversation on the use of tech to enhance HR processes and mental wellness. And the last room, we have advocacy strategies for internal mental wellness conversations with leadership and peers. So we want to talk about mental health for HR. How do we lead this conversation? What are the strategies that we can put in place to advocate for HR mental wellness with leadership as well as peer-to-peer? And leading that conversation, we have Oluwatomilayo Awu doing. So you're free to join any room to discuss a bit more about, whatever speaks to you. Hi, Benga. Benga is my colleague who is going to be splitting us into rooms. Benga, are we ready? Okay, the rooms are open. Yes, so please feel free to join any room that you would love to join. We have about 73 people not yet in any room. Okay, I see the rooms are filling up. Thank you. Thank you. All right. How many more do we have to go? We have about 58 people to go. We have just 15 minutes to talk about it. Thank you so much for joining your rooms. Love it. I'm so excited to hear all about what we get to discuss when we're done with the breakout session. All right. 30 more people to get into the rooms, 28. There is no link per se. You just choose a room to join. You can click on the breakout room text at the bottom of your screen. There's an icon that says breakout rooms at the bottom of your screen. So just click on that and follow the instructions to join any room of your choice. $25 people to go, 23. We have 12 minutes left. We have 12 minutes left, and then we'll come back and just do a recap of what we've discussed. Also interesting to note that there is a free mental health assessment and counseling for everyone on the call, courtesy of Manny. When we come back from our breakout rooms, we'll be talking a bit more about that. Thank you, everyone. Twelve more people to go. We have 11 minutes left. Okay. Thank you so much for your compliance. 13 people left. Why are we not in rooms? We have 3 minutes to go. Oh my gosh, my back. Welcome back, everyone. You're welcome back. We can close the rooms now. All right. We have 31 seconds to go. 30, 29. Counting down. I tried to go into 1 or 2 rooms just before the time was up. I see that some people are still in their rooms. I would really love to hear what the discussion has been about. All right. Welcoming everyone back to the main, what I say, forum. Thank you all so much. It's been an amazing time for me. I hope, it's equally been an insightful experience for everyone else on the call. Yeah. Okay, so people, I'm not sure everyone is back. Okay, great. All right, so without further ado, I'm just going to, just understand what was discussed in our different rooms. So the first room, hi, Ene. How did it go? What did we talk about in a very short
Okay.
Yes.
So it was just someone who shared her experience of working in a school and, having high people, leaving and how it's been affecting them. And it was really interesting because, we talk about high, attrition rates, and sometimes your mind doesn't go to other businesses apart from like the tech companies and everything. But schools also like have people leaving because teachers are in high demand in the UK and other countries. So like we also discussed, how she's been coping and what she does, and it was pretty interesting.
Great. Fun fact, I used to be a teacher.
Ah.
Yes.
So you're part of people who left and left them hanging. Wow.
Actually, and every time I keep hearing, oh, your reward is in heaven. I'm like, nope, my reward is here and in heaven. So I'm going to go search for my reward. Yes. Okay. So I'd like to just hear from one more person from your room, Juliet. Hi, Juliet. Do you want to say anything about what was discussed in your room?
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Juliet.
Okay. So I think my room was where Anna was she was in charge of the room, and I kind of had to sit back and try to understand the situation that Adobe shared. We always think of attrition, when we look at the regular businesses. But speaking of school, and as a mother, having teachers leaving the schools from time to time, it affects the children as much as it affects the school, and even the administrative officers that are, in charge of recruiting the replacement of those teachers. But most importantly, the impact is on the children. And, trying to get used to one teacher, and then before you know it, there is a gap. So currently, the same thing is happening in my son's school. For like 2 months, they didn't have a teacher for a particular subject because the school was still trying to get someone to, take that role. I was about to be getting upset, like, how are you not doing something in this? And you are going to write tests and exams. But I'm having to put myself now as HR in their shoes to understand that it is not just in the regular businesses that we always think about that are having these challenges, but the schools are suffering, the parents are suffering, the children are also suffering because they're trying to balance, getting used to, and then the gap that is created between the time the teacher has left and the time they are able to get another one. And then somebody proposed that, okay, they are beginning to increase salaries and everything. Yes, there is an impact of salary increase too on the business, because if the business is not making enough, how does that affect the business at the end of the day? Do you use all your funds to, take care of overheads? What about other things? What about the goals of the business? So at the end of the day, everything comes back to sort of affect the business itself. So you increase pay, people would still leave because there are other companies who are having the same issues and they would want to bid higher to get those people, the same people that we are all trying to, take from. So it's not like we don't even have enough people who are, willing to take this jobs, but are they meeting the needs? Are they meeting the requirement for this role? So that takes us back to the drawing board. We keep doing recruitment, and it's really draining, I can tell you, because this year alone, I've been trying to recruit for the role of finance officers, and I've been really frustrated. They ask for a particular amount, you double it, or you add 50% to it. At the point of accepting the offer, they bail out because another employer is offering them something better. So there is a competition that knows no end, that has no end at the end of the day. So it's really draining, but we'll keep trying.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Julia. That was very, very insightful into the struggles. And I mentioned earlier about like if in certain industries, if the workload or the mental breakdown in certain industries is more prevalent versus others. And you mentioned schools, right? Education, because these professionals have to do with the pressure from parents, and I can understand how that would escalate from classroom to management to HR, get us somebody, and not just get us somebody that will actually stay. So yes, thank you so much. Room 1, room 2. Hi, Abraham. In a jiffy, what was discussed in your room? And your room seems to be the room with the highest number of participants.
Oh, really? Yeah, to be honest, we just spoke about how we would use technology to make life easier for everyone, HR professionals, most importantly. And one word that stood out for all of us was automate. And
right.
We just understood that because everybody just, what we just found out was a lot of people are overloaded with doing the same thing. Payroll, for example, which was what stood out. People just have to keep on doing the same processes day in, day out. But when you have a tool like Pay, for example, that would not hurt the pocket of the company, but also help you to help the company be more productive. We now have people saving time, do you understand, via technology to attend to other things because it's paid, or HRS, for example. You have all those processes being automated and you have more quality time for yourself, for family, for friends, for loved ones. I don't want to go into like a deep depth. That's basically it.
Okay. I'll be calling Ore from your room to just add a bit in a very, very jiffy. Ore, hi, are you there?
Wow, thank you very much. What?
Hi, my name's
He said most of it really. When you're fine mentally, when you've been able to categorize your work, make it simpler for you, then your life is simpler. So you can focus on other things. What was the other thing I was talking about? So as a HR professional, having technology. So apart from the work, when we talk about what type of mental health support is available, technology has made it easy for you to talk to someone without having to go to them in person. So it's good to leverage on that. It's good to just remind yourself that you're a human being. You're a human being at the end of the day, and you always have to do what's best for you. And then I think finally I spoke about the ERGs. That's employee resource groups, and how sometimes depending on what kind of organization you're in, you might think, oh, maybe it's my role to do that. But no, you're also an employee. You also need to be a part of it. Go there, get the type of support you need. Because in the workplace, there's things that are affecting you and there's things that are affecting you at home. So if you're, lucky to be in a company that you have those groups that you can find whatever type of support is there, it's always great just having someone to talk to, someone that understands you. Because, like, for example, if we talk about intersectionality, you're a woman, you're a Black woman, maybe you're a lesbian, whatever kind of thing affects you. If you find a group that can cater to those needs, it's always great, especially in the workplace. So, I think that was it really. I'm not sure. I hope I haven't lost anything else that was said. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contributions. Or just to reiterate what you and Abraham both said about, the utilization of tech, to help ease HR stress. Like we say at Pade, our focus is on people, HR. How can we make your work easier for you? How can we make your work better for you? How can we automate every little thing that you need to do to ensure that your heavy lifting is highly reduced? Leave all the stress to us, so that you can have a good time HRing and taking care of people and the organization, and you also have time to take care of yourself. Yeah. So last room. Hi, Tomilayo.
Hi.
To close before 3, if we can do that magic. Yes, hi.
Hi. Okay. So basically, what we talked about in the room is advocating for the mental health in the HR in summary. So we Erafa was able to enlighten us on how we should use facts while we are pushing for this. I mean, if you want the organization to make a change, then probably carry out a mini survey amongst the HR professionals that are within the system. What is the common thing that is going on with them? And now drive home your point by making it known how it's going to affect the organization if this system they are asking for is not put in place. So it's not enough to just complain that we're feeling some kind of way, but how does it affect productivity at the end of the day, and how does it affect the organization at the end of the day? Then someone also talked about speaking to HMOs to bring in professionals to talk about, to enlighten the leadership and the general populace of the organization on these things, mental health and all aspects of it. So it makes more sense to them when requests are being made when as regards the HR mental health and also the mental health of all the staff generally. And we also mentioned that it's not enough for systems to be put in place. When systems are eventually put in place and probably we get more time off to take care of our mental health, considering the fact that when we take care of your mental health, it might require a longer time. Do you actually seek the help that you've taken time off for? Because we're expecting you to go and come back fine. So when you're taking the time off, make sure you're actually investing in your mental health and you're seeking the help that you actually need, not just taking time off work.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much, Tomilayo. I want to call on one more person from your end in 1 minute. Favor, in 1 minute, can you just add quickly to what Tomilayo said?
Would that be Favor Peter now?
Yes, Favor Peter. Yes, absolutely. Hi.
Okay, so I think one thing that stood out for me is, even after, you get the opportunity to take time off work to go and get the help, it's important that you do take it and not just use it for other things like maybe just sleeping or, getting over that business. It's good to get the help that you took the time off for. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you also very much. Are you done? Or you dropped off? I'm not sure. Okay. You're done. Okay. Thank you so very much, Favor. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of this important conversation. We can keep reiterating how important it is to have this conversation about, whose responsibility it is to take care of HR and what are the strategies that can be put in place from the policy level to leadership to personal responsibility. What are the things that we can do to look out for ourselves? This roundtable was brought to you courtesy Pade HCM and MANI, Mental Health Awareness Nigeria Initiative. At Pade, what we do is we help you automate all your HR processes so that you can have time to do the things that matter to you. And in this case, have time to take care of yourself, look out for your mental well-being. Someone earlier said that there's no health without mental health. There's no wellness without that. So yeah, and then for MANI Mental Health Awareness Nigeria, they're out here to just ensure that whatever your mental health issues, you're able to seek help, counseling. And right now we have access, that's everybody on the call. You all have free mental health assessments courtesy of MANI, as well as free counseling sessions. And peradventure, you require to see, a clinical psychologist, like Tomilayo said, or a psychiatrist. MANI is also able to hand out referrals and recommendations to seek the accurate care that you have. So thank you, MANI. Could you please just drop the link in the chat box for everybody to click on that so that they can access that? Yes, thank you so much. As I was saying, at Pade, for us, we're just like, who takes care of HR? And thinking of giving back and ensuring that we're looking out for HR professionals in our own way is why we teamed up with MANI to bring you not just this roundtable conversation, but to also give you access to check where your mentals are before, you jump right into work. So today, tomorrow, feel free to hit Money Up. You can press the link. Feel free to hit Money Up to get access to the assessment. Also, my team, Abraham, please could you just drop our demo link in the chat box if you're interested in getting on Pade's technology, which I particularly recommend. I would, yes, so you can just schedule a demo call with us. It's totally free. We don't charge you to see what Pade can do for you. If you think that technology, maybe not, schedule a demo and see for yourself how you're able to have enough time to look after yourself when your company or your organization uses Pade HCM. And on that note, I would like to just thank our panelists once again. Ene Ayegba, thank you so much for gracing our table. Oluwatomilayo Awodoyin, thank you so much. We really enjoyed your unique POV from the professional psychologist aspect of things. Ajibola Oyekunle, thank you so much for coming and for shedding much needed insights. Remy Adegboye, thank you so much. Particularly loved your contributions about, peer-to-peer help, access to help, as well as community supports. Erefekoka, thank you so much for your insights from the leadership aspects of things. We really hope that going forward, we see more representation in leadership and more listening from the leadership to the plights of their HR professionals who, so to say, do the dirty work for them. So thank you so much. Once again, my name is Ora Badmos. Please feel free to check our website, padehcm.com. Check out Money as well. Don't forget to take advantage of the mental health assessment. Yeah, we'll be communicating. There's going to be a recap of the roundtable. So if you want to, just go over some of the things that were said or share it with those who are not able to attend, we will be sharing the link in further communications in the coming days. Thank you all so much. We have come to the end of the roundtable officially. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you and bye.
Bye. Thank you all so much.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.